you're confident based on your analysis this is Hunter Biden's data and that it's real?
Yes.
The former president of the United States is now the target of 2 criminal investigations.
While the suspect was inside of the club, at least 2 heroic people inside the club confronted and fought with the suspect.
CBS finally decides that yes, it was Hunter Biden's laptop that all of us have been talking about for over 2 years now. Apparently there's some new stuff going on in the Mar-A-Lago investigation. We've got all of that coming up for you. And also there was another terrible shooting in Colorado Springs. We'll discuss how the world is reacting. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is November 21st, the year of our Lord 2022. Happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving week. Got a lot of interesting stuff to talk to you about. Mar-A-Lago, there's some new wrinkles in that I really want to touch on. We'll obviously talk about the Colorado shooting. If you didn't hear about that, there was a shooting over the weekend on Saturday night at a gay bar in Colorado Springs. Terrible tragedy, but it also really interesting how people are panning that story. But first, I want to get to this. CBS, have you heard of them? They're a relatively large media platform. Finally did their own investigation into whether or not the Trump laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop was legit. This blows my mind that they're finally catching on to this sort of thing. And also, a week or two after the midterms, kind of interesting, 2 weeks after the midterms, it's finally coming out saying, oh, wow. Now, they're justifying it this way, right? They're saying that, well, the Republicans have taken the House, and therefore they're going to start investigations on Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the whole Biden family, which is going to be really, really dang interesting to watch. But now that they're in that position of having to cover this sort of thing, it seems like they're finally taking it a little bit seriously. Watch this clip from CBS this morning, literally this morning, talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. Check this out, and we'll discuss on the inside. Oh, also, if you haven't, by the way, would appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button. Really, really does help us out, especially if you're watching on Facebook. We're streaming Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Getter, Hello Getter, all of the social media platforms. If you wouldn't mind clicking the little like button or the little reaction button or the wow button that CBS is finally digging into this Hunter Biden laptop story, would be greatly appreciated. Check this out, and there's a couple clips after that we'll watch. Check this out.
And as Republicans take control of the House, Hunter Biden, the president's son, will be a target for investigations. And that means data from a laptop purported to belong to Biden could be crucial to the investigatory process. CBS News has obtained its data not through a third party or political operative, but directly from the source who told us they provided it to the FBI under subpoena. And we commissioned an independent forensic review to determine its authenticity.
I wonder if that guy, I don't know who that anchor is, I wonder if he feels dumb having to say that, because literally everybody knows, everybody has known for a very long time that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Now, I will give some grace here and say that, in the early on, maybe it took a week, maybe it took 2 weeks to dig through that sort of stuff and authenticate it. But 2 years is a little bit long, don't you think? Just a little bit, tad bit excessive in the amount of time that it should have taken to authenticate that laptop. And they also said, too, we're going from the primary source here. We're not going from hearsay. And they're doing that again because Republicans have promised to investigate the president's son. Now, I thought this was fascinating. We'll watch this clip and then we'll get into. I want to get into some of the Mar-A-Lago stuff because the Mar-A-Lago stuff is kind of interesting too because there's two combating narratives going on trying to duke each other out. Watch this again from CBS this morning where they're talking to this analyst who authenticated the Hunter Biden laptop. Check it out.
Digital forensic investigator Mark Lanterman was previously a member of a Secret Service electronic crimes task force.
There was one thing that got my attention, and that was a voicemail.
It's Dad. I called to tell you I love you more than the whole world, pal.
to get some help.
That voicemail, apparently from Joe Biden during his son Hunter's drug addiction, is one of many findings Lanterman used to authenticate what is believed to be Hunter Biden's laptop data.
You're confident, based on your analysis, this is Hunter Biden's data and that it's real?
Yes. So goes without saying there. Let me see. I want to get to a couple of these comments here because I thought they were kind of interesting. Ryan says they said they think he's talking about the House Republicans. They said they were going after Joe. They don't care about Hunter. Yeah, I think you're mostly correct. I think, though, with Joe being tied into Hunter's business dealings, that'll be it's kind of de facto that they have to also go after Hunter. Let me see. Michelle says, I truly hope they're not only taking the investigation seriously, but holding them accountable as well. We will see. Let's see more comments in here that we can get to as we move on into our next thing here, because I think we want to talk about this. There's a lot going on here. The Mar-A-Lago FBI raid. There's several things happening. Last week, Attorney General, what the guy's name? I'm seeing his face in my mind, and I can't. Merrick Garland. I don't know why. I'm at that age apparently where you just kind of like blank out on people's names. Merrick Garland issued a special counsel to investigate this, which I think is what Donald Trump wanted. Which is just, I don't know. This whole thing is kind of fascinating. I can't decide if I want to play the clips from ABC this week where they're talking about, clearly there's something serious going on here, which we've all heard that before, or the conflicting narrative from, I believe this is either the Washington Post or the New York Times, talking about, they didn't find anything. Let's play this clip first. This is the panic, the president clearly is doing something illegal, nobody's safe narrative that is existing in your lefty enclaves after the Merrick Garland special investigation announcement. I believe that was Friday. Check this out, and we'll then get into the there's a little fly. We'll get into the other side of this. Check it out.
What do we know? How did we get to this extraordinary moment?
John, you're right. Extraordinary. That's how the normally understated attorney general described the situation. And the situation we find ourselves in is severe. The former president of the United States is now the target of 2 criminal investigations. There's no guessing. The Justice Department clearly suspects there was an illegal effort, potentially a conspiracy, to intentionally and criminally block the peaceful transfer of presidential power to Joe Biden after the 2020 election that culminated in that vicious attack on the Capitol on January 6th. If so, was Donald Trump a willing participant? Second, did Donald Trump direct the unlawful removal of presidential records and classified documents from the White House as he was leaving power? Was national security compromised, John? And did Trump, once the removal was discovered, intentionally try to obstruct the investigation?
What I would gather from this sort of stuff at this point, no, doesn't seem like any of those things are true. He's trying to make the case that, there's 2 things on the table here. Did Donald Trump plan the January 6th riot, which did he act super upstandingly? No, I think he did a lot of things wrong on January 6th. Are they trying to prove that he knew all of those things were going to happen and planned it to a T? Yeah, that's a tough sell, dude. And then also, did he participate in the illegal removal of those documents that he had at Mar-A-Lago? Now, it seems like there were documents at Mar-A-Lago that he probably shouldn't have had, but that really only matters if he had the intent to sell them, to sell the United States national secrets to foreign entities, which seems to be like a big fat freaking no-no, because there is an article in the Washington Post that says this. Well, shoot. I'm going to play the last part of this clip too, because again, I want to drill into people here that crying wolf is not a good long-term strategy if you continually do it and you continue to see things not be fruitful. Watch the rest of this clip from ABC this week talking about those damning evidences that check this out. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you. I'm seeing a couple thousand of you watching this on the screen. Would appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button. Would really, really help us out, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing so. Check out the rest of that clip. Again, kind of grabbing at straws here.
And Pierre, Merrick Garland wouldn't be doing this, would he, if
No way! They wouldn't ever put a political goal ahead of what's actually true. No!
indictments of Donald Trump weren't a real possibility?
Well, John, this much I can tell you. These investigations have been going on for weeks. So this is not a surprise to anyone. So clearly the Attorney General suspects there's a potential that an indictment could come. No final decision has been made, but he wants this done by the book so that someone who is seen as somewhat independent can look at this evidence, oversee the final stages of these investigations, and make perhaps one of the most consequential calls in anybody's memory.
Yeah, which would be huge. Yeah, if they decide to indict a former president, that would be massive. I don't think it's going to happen, like a lot. But here's what I think is fascinating about this. So the two things were January 6th, which remember they had a whole committee dedicated to this sort of thing, and that's going to end up being a big fat freaking nothing thing, I think. And then the second thing that this guy was worried about on ABC this week, saying, well, the illegal seizure of assets that belong to the federal government housed at his Mar-A-Lago estate. Check this out from the Washington Post, not a conservative-leaning news outlet. An article entitled Investigators See Ego, Not Money as Trump's Motive on Classified Papers. A review by agents and prosecutors found no discernible business interest in the Mar-a-Lago documents, people familiar with the matter said. Federal agents and prosecutors have come to believe that former President Donald Trump's motive for allegedly taking and keeping classified documents was largely his ego and a desire to hold on to materials as trophy or mementos, according to people familiar with the matter. If you love Donald Trump, if you're like one of those people that just like, yes, Donald Trump, I think even you can admit that Donald Trump has an ego. And he likes memorabilia. He likes trophies. Have you ever seen his office in the Trump Towers? There's just on the wall, newspaper clippings, memorabilia, autographs, photos, this, that, all these things all over the place. That's been known about him since he came to public prominence. Not really all that big of a surprise here, especially even for people who really, really love the former president. I think even they can admit, yeah, he's got a little bit of an ego on him. And in a lot of ways, that's why they like him a lot. But that goes without saying, like, yeah, we all know. We all know that President Trump has an ego thing. What this is saying is that basically the president wanted to keep mementos and memorabilia. Now, did they belong to him? I don't think so. I think they technically belong to the federal government. Like if the prime minister of wherever gives him a written note or whatever while he's the president, I think that technically belongs in D.C. But he's like, yeah, this was written to me. I want it. Is that like worth indicting a former president and tearing the country even further in half? I don't think so. The article goes on, as part of the investigation, federal authorities reviewed the classified documents that were recovered at Trump's Mar-a-Lago home and private club, looking to see if the types of information contained in them pointed to any kind of pattern or similarity, according to these people, who spoke with the condition of anonymity to discuss yada, yada, yada. Yeah. The review has not found any apparent business advantage, because remember, that's the whole thing. Well, Donald Trump is pissed off at the United States, and therefore he's stealing documents in order to sell them to foreign agents in order to make a buck. This article, again, from the Washington Post, is saying, yeah, that's probably not true. That review has not found any apparent business advantage to the types of classified information in Trump's possession. These people said the FBI interviews with witnesses so far, they said, do not point to any nefarious efforts on Trump to leverage or sell or use the government's secrets. Instead, the president seemed motivated by more basic desires, not to give up what he believed was his property, these people said. So there's that. It ends, well, at least this part that I clipped out of the sentences. Several Trump's advisors said that each time he was asked to give documents and materials back, his stance hardened and he gravitated towards his lawyers and advisors who indulged him or they go on to say like this whole big thing. Well, it's still wrong. Like, yeah, but is this it? Is this the big thing? Like I don't know, the Czechoslovakian leader, president, whatever, gave him a cool ballpoint pen. wrote a nice note saying, Mr. Trump, really love your hair and your hotels. He wanted to keep that. Is that like this big national emergency that really like that? But again, the bottom line here is that there was no evidence found in any of these documents to suggest that Donald Trump was trying to sell information to foreign adversaries for a profit. Duh, is what I would say. Let's see. There's a couple things that we could get to. There's some emissions stuff that I know I've been saying I'm going to talk about for weeks, but it's not really like super pressing. The Atlantic also had this really interesting piece about Elon Musk. Maybe we'll get to that. But I want to talk about this, the Colorado Springs shooting that happened over last weekend. If you weren't paying, or if you unplugged from the news over the last couple days, there was a shooting at a Colorado Springs gay bar, Club Q, I believe it was called, where a 22-year-old person with a gun walked in and started shooting, killing 5 and injuring about 25. Now, here's the thing. It goes without saying that this sort of stuff is terrible. Regardless of what you think about various people's cultures or how they identify or whatever it is that they do in their free time, nothing justifies going in and shooting people for any reason. That goes without saying, and I don't feel like I need to explain that, but just to cover my own butt, yeah, it goes without saying this is terrible. I'm not going to say the shooter's name here because I don't think that that's a good way of, expressing information here. They did. He is in custody now, so we are going to get to, I guess, ask what the heck was going on in this guy's mind. But bottom line here is to this dude, yeah, have fun in hell, jackass. That being said, the outrage on the lefty side of the internet and online kind of discounts all of the terribleness that happens here, completely glides over the root problems that seem to be pervasive on all of these sort of mass shooting things, and are going straight to, the problem is the rhetoric coming from people that generally are pretty measured, and including like myself. I got a big long message / comment from a guy that I know pretty well and like, and we disagree politically, but he had this big long thing to say that my comments about certain culture points are incendiary and dehumanize people, and that's what leads to this type of violence, which I would say no. Just because some terrible person does something horrible does not diminish solid arguments or does not take away the ability to comment on things. Does anybody condone this sort of thing? No, absolutely not. Nobody does. At the same time, you can't say that if you're going to make criticizing comments, if you're going to criticize different things that you deem to be bad, that automatically leads to this. That's just not accurate. In the same way that I don't believe that mainstream Democrats or mainstream lefties are responsible for that jackass that went and shot up the Republican baseball practice, in the same way that I don't believe that they're responsible for some idiots deciding to go do a terrible thing, I don't think that being critical of something that seems pretty damaging to society in a lot of, and not going into the specifics here, I'm talking about like the family-friendly drag shows and the underage physical transitions into the opposite gender. Being critical of all that sort of stuff doesn't mean that it's leading to XYZ, some crazy person doing crazy stuff. So I just want to make that clear and get it out there because, somebody in the comment section too. So look, I don't want to get into the weeds. There's comments here talking a lot about, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? Look, baseline off the top, nobody should kill. Political violence is bad. We all agree on that. The incendiary commentary, I think, is bad. Like, just in terms of in general, I think calling one side evil just because they disagree with you on how things should work, yeah, it's not necessarily the most helpful way, and it's going to lead to more of this sort of crap. But having said that, it doesn't excuse being critical. Sorry, it doesn't. This sort of thing doesn't make it illegitimate to be critical of things that you'd like to criticize in the society. That seems to be that. Wow, there's a lot of comments flying in here saying, geez, well, I can't even read through all of them at once because there's a lot going on here. Yeah. Let's see. You know what? We could talk about Elon Musk stuff, but I feel like this is kind of an important thing that I don't know. I don't want to get into more crazy, silly stuff. So that'll do it today. We'll cut it off here. I know we're a little bit short, a little bit early, but that's okay. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, would appreciate you giving me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in Jobob. You'll be able to find me. The Chiron for Facebook is wrong. So there's that. Had a great time. Oh, shoot. That's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Went to a Lizzo concert over the weekend. That was fascinating. So I'll talk about that at length tomorrow because I thought it was a very interesting cultural perspective on the culture and how it, I don't know. Anyways, had a great time in Kentucky over the weekend. If I saw you at Morehead State, thanks for coming out. Same as Western Kentucky University. I am, let's see, I believe I'm going to be, I'll make sure that all those dates are finalized before I announce them. I think I'm in New Mexico, but that's kind of just hanging out-ish. I have another thing in West Palm Beach, early December, as well as a speech in Illinois State University. So if you happen to live in any of those areas, would love to come and say hi. Again, I'll let you know when those are more solidified. Would appreciate you giving me a follow on any social media platforms, sticking up with all that sort of stuff. And let us know in the comment section too what you guys think of some of the stuff that's going on in the world. If you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button. Would appreciate you doing that. It helps us out a lot, especially if you're on Facebook. Also, if you're on YouTube, by the way, and Getter, really anywhere you're watching. If you click the little like button and the little share button, really, really does help us out. Appreciate you doing so. So that's going to do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. God bless America.